creeps! Long time no see, Anna here, and today I wanted to give you my December reading wrap up. Some of the books I talked about in my last video, so I'll just quickly touch on those, and then there are other ones that I read last month that I haven't gotten a chance to talk about yet. So we're just gonna jump on in, and then after this video I will have my ranking for 2025, all the books that I read last year, as well as just ranking the new releases for last year too. So I got a lot of videos coming up. Anyway, let's just jump on in. The very first book that I read in December was Frankenstein. This was our book club book of the month. This is about a man named Victor Frankenstein. He gathers pieces of human bodies and creates this monster who becomes sentient and questions what he is and doesn't fit into society. Everyone just is cruel to him because he's ugly and he's not like other people. So he wants Victor to make him a partner. Victor refuses, and then he sets out on ruining Victor's life. That's pretty much the basis of the story. I absolutely love this book. This wasn't my first time reading it, and I actually felt quite different about this read than last time. I know a lot of people sympathize with the monster in the book, and I understand that. But this read around, I really did kind of question everything. We're so separated from the story. The book is told through a story, through someone else's story about something that happened. So you're very removed from the narrative. There's just a lot of unreliability in it, and it just made me question a lot of things. And you do have to question if the monster is valid in what he does. That was an interesting question that we discussed a lot in book club, and people felt different ways about it. Some people thought that the monster was completely validated in what he did, and other people didn't think so, but obviously they still felt bad for him. I think it's fine when you feel bad for him, but I'm just saying, I don't know that I completely agree that everything he does is justifiable, especially when he brings innocent people into the mix. But anyway, this was such a wonderful read. It was a great book club pick, and I'm really excited for our book clubs for this year. Next month, or like the February 1st, we will be discussing Lost Gods by Brahm. So if you want to pick that bad boy up and read it, it's pretty creepy so far. I'm not too far into it, but I'm enjoying that read so far. So I think it'll also be a good read. This really reminded me of how much I miss reading classic literature, classic horror books, and I'm really excited to kind of dive into some older works this year. So yeah, first book, Frankenstein. Next, I read Return of the Living Elves, which I told you guys I really like this one. It's just like a silly Christmas. Well, all of these books are Christmassy, but this one is just about an elf that's released from a snow globe, and he's determined to take over the world. He's like a zombie elf, and he bites other people and they turn into zombie elves, and then he creates a horde of zombie elves. There are these people from like alternate dimensions. I'm not even really sure what they are, but they come from like a Christmassy realm. And they come in to try to stop this elf. It's a funny book. It's really Christmassy, really silly, really over the top, really vulgar. Just what I like. Next, I read The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter. This one I just thought was so fun, so cute. It's a cute little romance, but it's like half romance, half mystery, which I think if a book solely focuses on the romance, I kind of lose interest a bit. But because there were other elements of this book, I was all in. I thought it was so cute. It's about these two writers, and they kind of quarrel a lot. They're not really friendly, and the woman often thinks that the male writer is kind of like putting her down or dismissing her, and so she hates him. And they end up going to stay at the like head mystery writer, like the Agatha Christie of today, her house over the holidays, and she disappears from a locked room, and so they're trying to figure out what happens to her while also getting closer. It's cute. It's so cute. I would read 10 of these books if I could. Next, I read The Bright Side of Christmas. This is by Morgan Elizabeth. Yeah, this one was just smut. Wow, it was smut. I mean, it wasn't all smut, and it actually started off pretty cute about, the grumpy neighbor moves in next door, and she just wants him to decorate for Christmas, and she's like putting stuff up on his lawn, and he gets grumpy and moves it, and it's like a cute little back and forth between them. Yeah, it started off really cute, but it got smutty. This was smut, and I was just surprised, not that it matters, not that, smut is bad or anything, but oh my gosh, You know what? I have so much dog hair. Sorry about that. I had to lint roll myself. I didn't realize how hairy this jacket was. Anyway, not that there's anything wrong with smut or anything. If you like it, read it. There's no problem with it. I just wasn't expecting it because the description seemed like it was just a normal Christmas book and the cover made it seem like it was really cutesy. So I was just expecting something totally different. Next, I read Meddling Under the Mistletoe. This one I thought was so cute. I loved this one. This wasn't just a romance book. It's more about grieving during the holidays and coming to terms with the fact that a loved one who has passed away is going to forever change how you experience the holidays, but that doesn't take away the magic of living. And there's a really, really sweet line in there that says something like, I'm going to butcher it, but it's something along the lines of, when someone passes away, you're not supposed to stop living. You're supposed to live so loudly that they can hear it from wherever they are. And I just thought that that was a really cute sentiment for a book. And it's about a family who lost their father. So you have the mother's perspective and like her trying to hold on so tightly to the past that she's kind of ruining current holidays for her family. And she's grieving so deeply for her husband. And then you have her eldest daughter who's also scared to get close to anyone because she doesn't want them to pass away and then leave this like empty hole that she's feeling with her father. She ends up meeting a guy and her mother kind of meddles in it to bring them closer together, but they all learn and teach each other things. So it's really cute. It's about family and it made me tear up quite a bit. It was a sweet story, and I actually got a different book from her. I'm really excited to read it. Okay, next I read Better Not Pout by Marin Moore. And this one honestly was smutty too. This one is like the kind of story that just aren't for me. There really wasn't much else other than romance in there. It was just about a girl who works at a candy shop with her grandparents, and a grumpy guy rents the place next door and turns it into a bar, and then they fall in love. It's really not anything other than doing it, really. So it just wasn't really for me. This one, however, I did know going in that it was going to be a smut book because it was very evident from the description. I think the reason why I ended up reading it is because it said Hallmark After Dark, and I was like, what does that mean? It means smut. So now I know. But anyway, it was fine. Like, it wasn't a terrible story. It just was not a book for me. However, one of you recommended Christmas Fling by Lindsay Kelk. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to be for me. I read it. This was the best romance book I've ever read. The best. Hilarious. So funny. I loved the banter. I loved the friendships in it. And I loved that it was more than just a romance story. This one is about a girl who, whatever, she meets the guy who's renting out her an apartment to her, and he needs someone to kind of make his family not invite him during the holidays. So she agrees to go with him and be just an asshole to his whole family so that they don't invite him back, because there's a lot of guilt and animosity in the family because he didn't want to take over the family business. He wants to go and do his own thing, and the family doesn't quite understand. So there's just like a lot of tension in the family. It's very awkward, it's uncomfortable, and he's also just like kind of a bitch and doesn't want to face reality and face what's going on. He'd rather just avoid it. So she goes with him. She's just an asshole the entire time, but I love the banter between the two of them. I think the main character is really funny. And then also her friends show up and pretend to be a married couple, and just, it's hilarious. The shit that they spew to this family. They tell these like crazy tales about who they are, and it's just so funny. I loved this one. I actually rated this over a 4-star. That's how much I like this book. So I'm actually going to check out more from this author. If you guys have other suggestions from her, let me know. And thank you so much for whoever recommended that to me, because I had a blast reading it. If you can't tell, most of these books I actually got on Kindle Unlimited, but I have a few here that I read. So you guys know I brought this up, this Hearts for Christmas by Sophie Jo Main. And the reason I wanted it, I didn't read the back, I didn't read what it was about. I had no idea. I assumed it was kind of a romance book, but it was an advent calendar book. So you got to rip each section, each chapter open, and then read it each day of the month. I thought it was a really cute concept for a story. So you have December 1st, and then you ripped this bunch of pages, and then you read the first chapter on December 1st. Cute idea. Really adorable idea. And I know that they have advent calendar books, and they even have, I've read some like that in October where they have 31 chapters and you read 1 chapter a day. But I've never seen one where you physically open it. It did feel more like an advent calendar. It was fun. That was the best part of the book though. I gotta say, this one, absolutely not for me. Oh man, okay, so I'm reading it and I'm like, okay, this is a YA novel. Not for me. I'm not a huge YA gal. However, I have read other YA novels before, and I've read some that I haven't hated. It's not like I hate YA, it's just not personally my favorite. But this one was so weird because it's written as a YA novel, which is young adult, so I actually don't know what that age range pertains to, but I'm gonna guess like teens. I don't know. It read like you're reading a 13-year-old girl's diary. And the characters in the story are like 18, 19, 20 or something like that. So the dialogue between them and the thoughts that this girl was having, it truly felt like you were reading about a 13-year-old girl, which already is kind of weird. I don't really want to read about the love life of a 13-year-old girl, you know, like definitely not for me. So already felt a little weird reading it, even though in the story they were adults, but the way they communicated and thought and the banter between them, it felt very much so like a 13-year-old girl's diary. Another thing is there's some pretty heavy topics in here that really contradicted the writing style of the story. It was very weird, like very left field. What is happening? Okay, this is a bit darker than I thought it was, but all right. The last thing I would say is it didn't feel very romantic to me. It didn't feel, I mean, I guess it was fine, but okay, it does say so basically she has a heart operation and her parents are a little bit overbearing, and she meets this guy who kind of teaches her to live again, and that's kind of the basis of the story. But to me, it didn't feel like, the pacing didn't feel like a romance novel. It did not work for me. This book did not work for me. End of story. I didn't think it was sweet. I didn't think it was romantic. I thought the darker elements in it were very weird, and I felt like it read like a 13-year-old girl's diary. It just was not for me. That was a book that just was not for me. And that's fine, you know. If I read it when I was 13, I may have really liked that book. I don't know. I guess I was also reading like Stephen King at the time. So maybe just not a book for me. Other people seem to like it. Some people, I guess. I don't know. But I do think that the best part of the book was definitely ripping it open. Alrighty. The next book I read, however, was this bad boy. This is The Night Watcher by Daphne Wollstonecraft. This is about a girl, and she witnesses a murder when she's younger. Now she's older, she's an adult. Her father has this show called Night Watcher, I think, and has passed it down to her. It's like a true crime kind of podcast thing. Weird things start happening around the town. Women start getting murdered, and she starts feeling like she's being stalked, and weird things are happening. Okay. So here, okay. Let me just throw this out there. Is this the best book ever written? Absolutely not. No. But I will say that through its flaws, I believe that this is the first book the author wrote. And I do take that into account when I'm reading a story. There's plenty of authors that I absolutely love, and I read their first work and I go, ooh, okay, not as well developed, I would say, as some of their later work. I mean, it's a growth process, right? I am taking that into account while reading this, and I think that it's not perfect, but I do, and there are flaws. I'm not gonna lie. I won't. Okay, so I'm not going to give anything away, but this girl, she witnesses a murder when she's younger. She's traumatized by it. Weird things are happening in her town. She feels like she's being stalked. Her cameras aren't working. It feels like people are breaking into her house. Women are being murdered. Not once does this bitch pick up any sort of weapon. Just some very illogical choices being made in here. Also, I feel like the reveal of the killer wasn't anything that was too crazy. What I'm saying is, I had issues with this book. However, I would also say, though, that I did enjoy it for what it was. And there are different levels of horror. And sometimes I want a book where I read and the monster is a metaphor for a deeper issue. And it's about aging as a woman, and you connect to the story and you feel so strongly for the characters or whatever. And sometimes you just want to sit down and read a book that feels like kind of a PG-13 slasher. And that's how this book felt to me. Didn't make the best sense. No, the pacing was definitely off. The red herring was not convincing at all. Like there were some definite flaws in this book. However, I still enjoyed it. I still liked it. And I still will read other future works from this writer. Like, I'm really excited to see what this writer brings in the future. It wasn't like a poorly written book. There were just things, as someone who read, 120 horror books last year, found off a little bit. So that being said, I enjoyed it. Like I said, it felt like reading a PG-13 slasher, and I think that there were elements in the book that were really cool that if those elements were focused on, I would have really, really enjoyed this story. That being said though, I still liked it. I still thought it was fun, and anybody who is brave enough to write a horror book and get it published, I think is just, kudos to you. That's fucking awesome. So I support new writers over here, even if their books aren't perfect and polished the first time around, because not everything's going to be a home run the first time you do it, The next one that I listened to, on audiobook, was Happy Bloody Christmas. This one was actually a comedy. It was actually pretty funny. It was about this woman who has a Christmas party and she wakes up the next day super hungover. She's in her 40s, she's married, she has 2 kids, and she goes downstairs to find her boss dead, I think in a pantry. She calls it a larder. A larder? I think she's definitely from the UK somewhere. So I'm not exactly sure what that is, but through context I gathered, I think it's a pantry because there were like Pringles in there. So I think it's her pantry. Anyway, so she finds her boss murdered, and the cops come to take the body and just like do not know what the hell they're doing. So she decides to step in and try to solve this murder with her friend, and they have the funniest relationship. These are the type of friends I need in my life. She calls her up and she's like, my boss was murdered, and her friend's like, I'll be over to help you bury the body. She's like, oh wait, I didn't murder him. It's so funny. It's so funny. So this one cracked me up. I enjoyed this one. I thought it was fun. There's a second one and I will listen to it next year. I thought it was a cute story. It is about solving this murder, but it's also just about like being married and being a mother and aging, and there's a lot of comments that she throws in there that are just relatable and funny and a part of life. So I liked this one. I felt like it was a good book to just listen to. And then the last book of the month I read was this Eggnog, Trifle, Trouble. This is my cozy mystery where there's a murder and Lottie Lemon speaks to ghosts. This ghost was a mouse. It looks like a mouse, but it was described more like a rat in the book, so I'm still not really sure what it was. But anyway, someone gets murdered. She sees ghosts. The ghosts try to help her solve the murder because they were the pet of the deceased person. And then the murdered corpse always has whatever treat that she's featuring that month, like halfway in their mouth as they're stabbed or shot. It's just adorable. I love these books. So that's what I read during Christmas. Definitely a detour for me. I mean, really only 1-2 horror-y type books. And then I guess we had that mystery thrown. Well, we have a few mysteries, but a lot of different variety of books that I don't typically read. Comedies and romances and mysteries and a bunch of stuff that I typically don't give the time of day to. And I found some really cool books thanks to you guys for your recommendations. So I thought that was fun. I will probably do that again next year. Let me know what you guys read for Christmas. And I'm excited to get into the new videos for this new year. Let me know how you guys feel about this camera, how the audio is, and how the quality is, because it is a new camera, so I'm still like working out the kinks in there. But thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you soon with another horror video. Bye!